I'm Dr. David Borman. I've been at Nipissing since 2010. I'm Associate Professor of Philosophy, and I'm a specialist in ethics in an area of philosophy that's called social epistemology, and a little bit of the history of philosophy coming from the 19th century and more recent. The thing I love best about teaching in the program at Nipissing is that I get to introduce students to philosophy at a bunch of different levels. Everywhere you introduce students in an intro to philosophy course, and we do that, but our program is set up in a way that we are introducing students in second-year critical thinking courses, in various ethics courses and things like that. And philosophy is a very different sort of subject matter. It requires people to think differently. Our human default is to oversimplify problems, usually in the direction of what we already believe. And what philosophy is about recognizing the full complexity of a problem, seeing how, with the genuinely hard problems we face as individuals or collectively, there's no such thing as a simple answer that comes without a cost. And so philosophy is about getting to the point where you're able to see problems in their full complexity, see what makes them the hard problems that they are. And my dissertation director, way back when I was doing my dissertation, was sometimes we were reading a passage and talking about a text. He used to say, doesn't the world light up with intelligibility when you read this? And that's the experience of seeing a problem in new and more light, seeing it for the problem it really is and having that kind of eureka moment. That's the thing that I like best to share with students. I think the advice that I would give students coming into university generally is that the university is the world's greatest epistemic resource. And epistemic is a word philosophers use for relating to knowledge. So it's the world's greatest knowledge-related institution. The university is the place where anything you want to understand about the world, anything that you want to understand about your life, about who you are, about your place in the world, the university exists to help you do that. And so my advice to students considering university generally, and of course anyone considering university here, is to think about what you want to know about the world, to think about what interests you about the world, about yourself, about the people around you. What is it that you want to know? And to use that as the guide to how you spend your time here. What makes the program at Nipissing different from philosophy programs elsewhere is common to, I think, a lot of the arts and humanities programs here, which is its small, student-centered kind of focus. Students will get to know their peers, their cohort of students with whom they move through the program in a really intimate way. You get to know your professors, and I get to know my students in a way that's just not possible at other larger institutions. There's lots of opportunities for students to get involved in the program. We have a philosophy student society. We have opportunities, like I sometimes get to know my students well enough that in choosing what I'm going to teach in a course next year and looking for new material, sometimes I think, I'm going to include this particular issue because I know that there's a student who I've been talking about an issue like that over the last couple of years, and to be able to individualize study in that way is an opportunity that you don't get many other places. The key courses in the program at Nipissing are really our critical thinking courses, and we have two of them. We have a positive side of things course, which is called Thinking Clearly. The students learn to develop arguments, identify logical fallacies, logical problems in arguments, things like that. And then we have the kind of negative applied side, and that's this course called Bullshit, Bias, and Propaganda, which is unique to Nipissing in Ontario. And that's the course where we look at all of the things that can go wrong in the attempt not just to reason, but also the things that can go wrong when we recognize that reasoning isn't something that we each do sort of individually inside of our minds. It's something that we collectively do together. And that's both the kind of strength and vulnerability of reasoning together, is that it also leaves us susceptible to conspiracy theories, to propaganda, to bias, to bullshit. So those are the topics in that course, and those are our core critical thinking courses. From there, the rest of the program is a matter of choosing a selection of courses in these two kinds of clusters. One cluster deals with the history of philosophy from the ancient period all the way up to the 20th century, and the other cluster deals with issues in value theory. So we have courses in environmental ethics, in biomedical ethics, in digital ethics that deal with AI and things like that, as well as special topics courses in ethics and political philosophy. So philosophy is a theoretical program. It's about understanding problems in their full complexity and developing the kind of thinking skills and analytical skills you need to address those problems. But the particular problems we address are typically very practical kinds of problems. How and when should a government respond to an unwarranted conspiracy theory that's spreading? What kinds of criteria ought we to use if we're trying to figure out whether an individual or a population deserves priority access to a scarce medical resource? Or what kind of climate refugee policy is Canada obligated to have given our particular role in the history of climate change? And those are all deeply practical questions, but they're all philosophical questions, and they're all questions that we and our students address. In terms of research opportunities in philosophy at Nipissing, one thing that we always encourage our students to get involved with is the Undergrad Research Conference, and we've had many students over the years present their work there. It's a great experience for students. There are opportunities through the Philosophy Student Society for students to get involved in reading groups. Peer tutoring has been available through the Philosophy Student Society. Graduates from our program don't follow the same trajectory in leaving here, so there's no sort of usual path, but we have sent graduates to law school, for instance. Philosophy is some of the best preparation for law school you can get. We've had a number of students enter the B.Ed program, including a couple of our graduates this year. We have had students who have gone into civil service at the provincial level. We have a former grad who's an EDI consultant. So the career path is quite varied, and of course we have a long history of sending students to graduate school, both in philosophy but also in some other related areas. We've had students go into cognitive science at the grad level out of our program, as well as some other more practical areas like marketing. Our program creates a very individualized environment, and that's a luxury we have just because we're small. And so I sit down with advising every year, and we go through the list of students in the program, and we make sure that each one of those students is in a position to get the courses they need to graduate. Often we are able to tailor in some ways the courses we offer to the interests of the students who are moving through the program. And so it's a very individualized environment in that way. Faculty make a point of being accessible to students both in and outside of class. The students who thrive in philosophy are students who like to be challenged, in terms of their ability to think through why they believe what they believe, to recognize the weaknesses, even in convictions that you hold strongly, to see how reasonable people could have grounds for disagreeing with you. And so students who like to be challenged, who thrive on complexity, those are the students who really do well in the program. And as Socrates found out long ago, that's not for everyone, but the students who are attracted to that kind of thing, those are the ones who really excel in the program.